Okay, today we're going to compare fractions with unlike denominators and with like denominators and place those numbers on a number line. So this is one of the trickiest fraction skills that we'll work on this year. And it kind of includes all of the fraction skills we've used thus far. So if you find that you're still getting confused while watching this video, go back and check out some of the other fraction videos to help you get those basics, those foundations settled before you start working on this particular skill. So we're going to look at two different number lines. Both of our number lines go from 0 to 1, and there's a line marking where 1/2 would be, or halfway between 0 and 1. Let's start with a number line where the fractions that we have to label all have the same denominator. If you get lucky enough to get a problem like this, what you're going to do is you're going to take your number line and split it up equally into the number of pieces listed in the denominator, 8. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, this would be 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. My last one will be right here, right? 1 is the same as 8 eighths. So then what I can do is start with my smallest number, 1/8, and label it on the first line, the first 8th marker. Then I have 3/8, so 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. Okay, so that's nice and simple when the denominators are the same. But a lot of times when we compare fractions in real life, we're not going to have the luxury of the denominator being the same. When that happens, you might end up with fractions like this. Okay, my number one strategy is split your pile of fractions up into numbers smaller than 1/2 and numbers bigger than 1/2. So in this particular set, we actually have a number that's 1/2, and there's a little line where 1/2 should go. So we're going to go ahead and mark 1/2 and cross that off down here. Okay? We're going to look at our other numbers. If a number is bigger than 1/2, the top number will be more than twice the bottom number. Okay, so is 7, if I double that, is that going to be bigger than 12? 7 doubled is 14, so yes, this is going to be bigger than 1/2. If we look at 2/3, if I double my top number, 2 doubled is 4, that's bigger than my bottom number, so 2/3 is bigger than 1/2. What about 4/10? If I double 4, I'm going to get 8, right? 8 is not bigger than 1/2, so this one is smaller than 1/2. And same with this one. If I double 1, I get 2, and 2 is smaller than 6. So this one is also smaller than 1/2. So that tells me these two fractions will be on the right of the 1/2, and these two fractions will be on the left. Okay, so now it's a matter of figuring out where exactly on the number line they go. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to create common denominators. If you're not sure how to do that, you might want to go back to the video called Creating Common Denominators and check that out. So let's start with comparing 7/12 and 2/3. Remember, you start with the fraction that has the smallest denominator and multiply it by a whole number to equal the larger denominator, times 4 times 4. So 2/3 is actually the same as 8/12. So on my number line, I'm going to put 7/12 and make 8/12 or 2/3 slightly larger. Okay, next I'm going to compare 4/10 and 1/6. Now this is one of those situations where there's nothing that I can multiply times 6 to equal 10. So I multiply by my opposite denominator, 10 times 6, 10 times 1, and over here 10 times 6, opposite denominator, 4 times 6. So this turns into 24/60 and 10/60. So we can see 1/6 is quite a bit smaller than 4/10. 4/10 is actually pretty close to 1/2, right? 5/10 would be 1/2. And 10/60 is fairly small, so 1/6 is going to go over here. All right, so the placement on the number line doesn't have to be perfect, but we should be able to at least get them in order and have a general idea, is the fraction closer to 0, closer to 1/2, or closer to a whole. So remember to figure out if they're close to 1/2, bigger or smaller. Okay, go ahead and create common denominators, and then figure out, is that fraction closer to 0 or closer to 1/2, or if it's larger, closer to 1/2 or closer to a whole.